Most people think Roth conversions are always a smart move. You pay the taxes now and everything grows tax free later. But if you convert at the wrong time or without a strategy, it can actually leave you with less money in retirement, not more. The biggest mistake I see is assuming Roth conversions are either good or bad without running the numbers. But there are a few key factors that get overlooked and they can completely change whether this helps or hurts your retirement plan. So, in this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 of the most important and most misunderstood Roth conversion considerations. I'll use real examples and the same software I use with my clients, so by the end, you'll know whether it makes sense for you and how to avoid the costly mistakes most people make. So, let's start with the first one. Not having the cash outside of your retirement accounts. Here's what I mean by this. When you do a Roth conversion, you are transferring money from a pre tax retirement account into an after tax Roth IRA. And this creates a taxable event on the money you transferred. So you will need to pay income taxes on that money. For example, let's say you do a $100,000 Roth conversion and you don't pay the taxes from another outside account. Let's pretend your tax bill for the conversion was $30,000. Well, if you do a $100,000 Roth conversion, only 70,000 goes into the Roth and the other 30,000 goes to the government, which limits the long-term tax-free growth on that money. Now, why would anyone want to do this? Well, the benefit is the money you converted is going to grow tax-free forever in your Roth IRA. You won't have to worry about required minimum distributions at ages 73 or 75, and for most people, your heirs will inherit that money completely tax free. So, in most cases, doing Roth conversions can save you over $1 million in tax adjusted portfolio wealth over your lifetime. But this isn't always the case because you still need to pay the taxes on the money you converted, right? Now, you have two ways to pay the taxes on the conversion. You can use money outside of your retirement account, like taking money from a taxable brokerage account, or pay the taxes directly from the traditional IRA itself using some of the converted funds, as I explained earlier. If you don't have money outside of the IRA to cover the taxes, this may be your only option, in which case you can normally request to have a portion of the converted funds withheld when they do the conversion at whatever financial institution you use. But when you do it this way, it's taking money from being invested and having to pay the taxes instead. So let me show you an actual example. So we have John and Sarah family. They are 64 and 63 years old and retired. John has an IRA worth $500,000 and Sarah also has an IRA worth $500,000. So together they have 1 million. Now the question is, does it make sense for them to do Roth conversions? So let's hop over to tax strategies and look at their withdrawals. Now, John and Sarah seem like they would be great candidates for Roth conversions, but as we can see here, it depends on what income bracket they're converting at. Right now, we're not playing with the withdrawal sequence just yet. We'll come back to that later. But if we look down here, filling up the 32 to 33% bracket leaves them with over $550,000 less in tax adjusted wealth. Now, those brackets are pretty high, so let's bring them down a bit to the 24, 28% bracket, and they still end up with $118,000 less. So let's bring the brackets down even further to 22 to 25%. And we can see it's getting a little better. I don't think adding 10 grand to your wealth over a 30-year period is necessarily worth it, but let's move it down to the 12, 15% bracket. And we can see here, we're finally starting to see some benefits, adding almost $200,000 to our tax adjusted wealth. But if we go back to the 22, 25% bracket and look at our invested assets, we actually end up with less in our portfolio when doing the conversion, almost $70,000 less, because to pay the taxes on the conversions, they are reducing the portfolio value, so they have less money invested. Whereas if we go back and let's give them an extra 500,000 in their joint taxable account. And let's go back to tax strategies, and we can see we can see we almost add a million more in tax adjusted wealth when converting up to the 22-25% bracket, but paying for the taxes from our brokerage account, not from the IRA. And if we change the withdrawal sequence to a more optimal order, going from pro rata to withdrawing from our taxable accounts first, then our tax deferred, and then tax free, and we go down here, we hit refresh, and we add over $1.2 million in tax adjusted ending assets to the plan. So when we dial in converting up to the most optimal tax bracket, combined with paying for the taxes up front from a separate account and using the most optimal withdrawal sequence, we're able to really maximize our wealth over the course of retirement. We find out building assets and saving and investing in brokerage accounts can make a huge impact over the long term when it comes to implementing Roth conversions. The next one is being aware of the hidden costs and taxes that can creep up when doing Roth conversions. And these trip up most people because these costs aren't obvious when you're running basic conversion calculations. Roth conversions increase your modified adjusted gross income, otherwise known as MAGI, which can trigger several additional costs. The first is Medicare IRMAA premiums. If your MAGI exceeds certain thresholds, you'll pay higher Medicare premiums for 2 years after the conversion. IRMAA is recalculated annually based on your income from 2 years prior, so it's based on a 2 year look back period of income. This means that the income you reported on your tax return 2 years prior determines whether you owe an IRMAA. So if we went back into John and Sarah's plan, we can see they start to get pretty close in their mid 90s to reaching those additional Medicare premium levels. So just don't forget to take this into consideration when looking at Roth conversions. Next is the potential to lose your Affordable Care Act subsidy. So, if you're under 65 and buying health insurance through the marketplace, a large conversion could eliminate your premium subsidies for that year. Remember, Roth conversions increase your MAGI, which ACA subsidies are based on. It's actually a sliding scale. Higher MAGI means you will receive less or potentially no subsidy at all. So the decision to convert depends on your individual situation, your income level, and healthcare needs, because the immediate impact of a Roth conversion on ACA subsidies is a short term reduction in assistance. However, the long term benefit of Roth conversions is tax free growth and withdrawals in retirement, which can sometimes outweigh the short term cost of reduced subsidies, especially for those who may not need them in the future. So it will require a manual calculation based on your specific situation because you'll need to balance filling up the appropriate tax bracket for the conversion while at the same time not increasing your MAGI to the point where it impacts ACA subsidies. The last one I want to touch on for this section is Social Security taxation. Higher MAGI can push more of your Social Security benefits into taxable territory, pulling in up to 85% of your benefit to become taxable. Now, I just did an entire video on Social Security taxation, so I won't dive into great detail here, but I still wanted to mention it so you're aware. But after this video, check the description below and I'll include a link so you can watch that video later. So these hidden taxes don't necessarily mean you shouldn't convert, but you'll need to factor them into your decision, and sometimes it makes sense to spread conversions across multiple years to stay under certain thresholds. You don't have to do one large conversion. You can do partial conversions, and they don't even have to be done consecutively. You can strategically decide from year to year if it makes sense to do it or not. So just weigh all of your options so you can make an informed decision. The third factor to consider before doing Roth conversions is moving to a lower tax state. This one can cost you or save you tens of thousands of dollars because if you live in a high state like California at 13% or New York at 10.9%, but plan to retire to a no tax state like Florida or Texas or Tennessee, the timing of your conversions becomes really important. If you're in a high tax state and plan to retire to a low tax state, let's just say again Florida, a Roth conversion may not make sense, at least until you become a resident of Florida. And it's not just Florida, there are 13 states that either have no income tax or don't tax retirement account distributions. So you might just want to delay starting the conversion process until you've moved and become a resident of a lower tax state. The fourth factor to consider is if you plan to leave assets to charity. So, if you're planning to leave a significant portion of your wealth to charity, Roth conversions might actually reduce your charitable impact. And here's why: charities don't pay income taxes. When they inherit your traditional IRA, they can withdraw the money completely tax free. But if you convert to a Roth, you pay the taxes up front, leaving less total money for the charity. So, for example, if you leave $100,000 in a traditional IRA to charity, they get the full 100,000. If you convert to Roth, you pay $24,000 in taxes, then leave 76,000 to charity, and they obviously get less. But there's a smarter way to do it if you're charitably inclined. Once you turn 70 and a half, you can make qualified charitable distributions directly from your traditional IRA to a charity up to $100,000 per year. And this counts towards your required minimum distributions and also reduces your taxable income, while of course benefiting the charity of your choice. So if you're charitably inclined, factor this into your conversion analysis. You might want to convert some money, but keep enough in a traditional IRA to fund your future charitable giving through QCDs. And the fifth factor is your investment strategy matters. Roth conversions only work if the converted money actually grows. If you convert $100,000 and then invest it conservatively in bonds earning 3%, you might not generate enough tax free growth to justify paying the conversion taxes up front. But if that same 100,000 grows at 8% in a diversified stock portfolio, the tax-free compounding becomes incredibly powerful. This is why I often tell clients to think of their Roth as their growth bucket. If you're going to do conversions, invest that money for long-term growth. If you're too conservative with the investments, the conversion math probably doesn't work out. So let's recap some of the factors that determine whether a Roth conversion can help or hurt you. The first is cash availability. Do you have money outside of your IRA to pay the taxes? Because if you don't, paying the taxes from the converted amount can stunt the growth within that account. Then there's tax bracket strategy. What's the optimal tax bracket to do a conversion at? Don't always assume it will be the highest or the lowest because it could be different for everybody. Next are the hidden taxes. Be aware of the hidden costs you can potentially trigger when doing a Roth conversion. It can affect your Medicare premiums, ACA subsidy, and don't forget about your Social Security taxes. Then there's state taxes. Are you moving to a lower tax state in retirement? If so, it may make sense to hold off on doing Roth conversions until you move. Are you leaving money to charity? If so, rather than doing a Roth conversion, passing the money to the charity by doing a qualified charitable distribution could be a much better strategy. And finally, what's your investment approach for the Roth IRA? Think of your Roth IRA as your growth bucket to make sure you're doing the Roth conversion and making sure it was worth it in the long run. If most factors point toward conversions, start modeling specific amounts and timelines, consider working with a financial planner who specializes in tax planning, and don't try to convert everything at once. Spread it out over multiple years. If the factors are mixed or mostly negative, consider partial conversions or waiting for better timing. Focus on other tax planning strategies and revisit the analysis if your situation changes. Now that you know whether a Roth conversion makes sense, there's one more critical piece, and that's knowing which accounts to withdraw from first in retirement. Because even if you've done everything right with conversions, you can still blow up your plan by pulling money from the wrong accounts at the wrong time. And that's exactly what I cover in my next video right here. So click here to watch, and I'll see you over there.